What made you start in such a crazy competitive space?
Well, I didn't start to aim to go into this space.
Right.
I started as a customer who had a frustration.
Not that I was like shocked when we kind of first started working together, but I was just really impressed because I've seen so many people not being able to do it.
Okay, we're going to be the #1 natural bar brand in Europe. That is an audacious statement to make. I'm just sitting in the kitchen. I've got about €2 to rub together, but we're just going to make it happen. And I'm going to figure out, right, what's one step closer every day. Now it's slightly believable, whereas back then, people literally said to my face, they're like, this isn't going to work. Would you not just go do something else? But I just knew they were just wrong. And I just fundamentally believed that our product was going to work. Come this bloody far. Pull your socks up and just get in there and sell. First store I went into was terrible. The manager said, what the hell are you doing? No, I'm not going to take that on.
Really, yeah?
And my confidence was shot. I almost didn't go into the second shop.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with Josh. I'm here with Niall, co-founder of All Real Nutrition, and we're going to get into how Niall began, some practical tips from the marketing side, get a bit into the retail side of things, and yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes. Niall, great to have you, brother.
Cheers. Thanks very much for having me.
How have you been?
Very good.
You're in Dublin?
Excited to be back up in Dublin.
I feel like you're here every week.
Yeah, well, that's just the demands of things now, so.
Yeah, and you're coming back up next week for the panel.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've actually just checking out the sign-ups earlier on this morning. We have some really cool brands coming, and the lads in store here, Octane will be there. So yeah, and thanks for jumping in on that.
No problem at all.
It'd be great crack.
To be a part of it.
Yeah, and today we have Josh with us. Josh heads up the retention side of things on the Leading Social side. We're actually going to have a separate episode with Josh kind of getting into, I think it'd be really interesting for people who are looking to get into the space, because Josh started off as an intern and then runs like the whole department over the course of 4 or 5 years. So stay tuned for that episode as well. But Niall, let's get into it.
Let's go.
Let's start with, so obviously the protein, the health and wellness, the fitness space is such a competitive industry, not across multiple categories. So across like consumer goods, supplements, even apparel, like there's so much saturation of good products too, not just bad products, but there's actually really good products in the market too. So what made you start in such a crazy competitive space?
Well, I didn't start to aim to go into this space.
Right.
I started as a customer who had a frustration. I was going through kind of a lifestyle change. Like, it was around 2014, the paleo diet was really strong, and I was kind of gone from having this very processed diet, and changed to eating real natural whole foods. And I felt like the energy I had, I was training MMA all the time, eating natural foods, and I just felt like it was a superpower, and I just wanted to share it with people. And I was going to the shops, like, I was working part-time, training MMA 6 days a week, and you need convenient products. I was going to the health food shops, and the only thing that was kind of natural tasted like absolute cardboard, And then so I was like, right, there has to be a better way. So I started making some of my own snacks I was making at home, and I was thinking, right, there's definitely an opportunity here to make something that's natural, that tastes good, but also kind of delivers a nutritional thing people are looking for. And yeah, that's kind of how I started.
What was the first flavor?
Well, it's actually my first brand was called Snack Box, right? All Real is my 5th brand, by the way. Yeah. So my first brand is called Snack Box. It was kind of like what you'd see with Graze now in the UK or Nature Box in the States. It was like this kind of subscription box that had like random snacks coming to your letterbox every single month. Okay. So it was e-commerce focused to start with, but the practical reality is I hadn't a clue how to run a business. I was literally just out of college.
And what kind of snacks? Are they healthy snacks or just snacks in general?
So I was making up all these things I was making at home, like flavoured date balls, flavoured nuts and seeds, different like oat bites, all these kind of different natural things that I could just have in between meals on the go, and kind of develop like 10 of them. But then the reality of how to manufacture them, so on. And I just started doing a master's in UCD in food science, nutrition and health, and talking to the food team there, they're like, stick to 1 or 2 products and create a brand, you've got a better path. So that's when my next brand started, which was called the Caveman Food Company.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, what's your man's name? The fucking Ancestral Tenants, what's his name?
Oh, Liver King.
Liver King.
Yeah. No, there wasn't liver in them, but actually, like, they were and actually from doing that, I was just making things at home and going into local gyms and just getting samples. And what I get back was like, is there protein in that? Is there protein in that? And it's like, okay, there probably should be. So then I started developing these with protein, went and did the Super Value Food Academy, got into a couple. Oh, sorry, the part that I missed was I was named Kerry's Best Young Entrepreneur in 2014 for Snackbox.
Right.
I got a small bit of funding.
Oh, so Snackbox must have got going a good bit with it.
Well, I actually didn't get off. They didn't actually go out of idea stage.
Okay, right, yeah.
Like 98% of business ideas don't get out of idea stage, don't even get to market. But I won some funding for it, and that's when the guys in UCD were like, right, you should probably use that funding, get packaging, create a brand, and go through, whatever. So did that. Did an agreement with Garvey's Super Value in Tralee to go into a bunch of local stores, got my packaging done, developed all my recipes, did all the HACCP stuff, did all the training, just was a sponge for as much to learn about the food industry as possible. Then started pumping it everywhere on Twitter and all these different places, and then was about to go live a week later, and I got a letter, and I was like, what the hell is cease and desist? I don't even know what the hell it means. So I dropped it into my solicitor, and he went, yeah, you're probably better off to quit now before you start. A company called Cayman Foods LLC in California, somehow...
I've never heard that story.
Yeah.
Heard that story either.
Yeah, somehow they came across a brand that had 200 followers from Kerry.
Was it domain name or something? No.
No, I can't even remember.
Right, yeah.
But then it was like back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So then brand number 3 came back to custom e-com stuff. I was like, right, these little balls are just an absolute. They're so hard to make. So I was like, right, can I make them flat or whatever? And then I looked in the States and saw brands like natural bar brands are doing really well. I was like, this is basically a similar kind of recipe. So I further developed it, and I was kind of looking at going, right, this kind of customizable thing I couldn't get that idea out of my head. So the brand I developed then was called Buy Me Bars, which was like a website where you could go on and you could pick what protein powder you want, what nut butter you want, so on. But highly impractical to scale that, by the way.
Yeah.
But I went along developing it. And through the course of doing that and making all different combinations, I created 1 or 2 really good flavors. And then I was like, right, it's probably time to go take the advice I got earlier again, formulate into a brand, create my 3 or 4 best products, go back to the super values, and that's when the next brand, Origin, was born. And that was the first one that really got to the market and really got some traction.
Wow.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was March 2017, got my first invoice, had a launch in the local papers, all that. It was like, so that was 3 years after I'd started. So I'd done all those brands before that.
And all these businesses so far, you were solo founder, yeah?
Yes. One man band. So when I started Origin, like quite literally, and my wife now, she was like, I don't know, like, you were so annoying because you'd wake up at 4 a.m, like tossing around, getting everything ready. Then you'd be out of the house for the day and I wouldn't see you till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So I'd get up. So I rented a little food production facility, got all my savings together, and bought a mixer, a couple of tables, whatever, and just got going. I'd get up in the morning, make 60 bars at a time. So I'd normally make like 3 batches, 180 bars, put them in the boot of my car. About 11 or 12 o'clock, I'd have that done by. Now, I was terrible at making bars, by the way. It just took so long because I was like so perfectionist about everything. Fill up the boot of the car, go down to local Super Values, and I remember pulling up outside going, now I have to sell these bloody things. I actually was like so mortified to go in and sell it.
Yeah.
Because I just, again, like when you're by yourself and I've not come from a business background, I was like, kind of banging my head in the steering wheel going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? And it's like, I've gone this bloody far. Pull your socks up and just get in there and sell. Went in, first store I went into was terrible. The manager said, what the hell are you doing? No, I'm not going to take that on.
Really, yeah?
And my confidence was shot. I almost didn't go into the second shop. Went into the second shop, and it was one of the Garvey stores that I mentioned. I was like, yeah, whatever. And I showed them the little email that the owner, the chain of stores sent. And they're like, oh yeah, come on in. They were so nice and everything. I was like, okay, cool. And then every other store was like that.
Yeah.
They're very accommodating because we were local. And then I realised how to sell better. And then it got to the stage where I was like, I can't actually make enough bars, so I had to hire somebody. And then we kind of built it up, 10 stores, 20 stores, 50 stores, 100 stores. And then I realised I needed someone with a bit more commercial acumen. The backside, like retail is very complicated. Now I know it inside out now.
Talking about it earlier on, yeah.
I know it inside out now, but the different chains of command, how everything is pulled through, the different distribution channels, the margin requirements, so on, and just the expectations. And when you're on a shelf against billion-euro corporations.
Yeah.
They don't take that very kindly.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, okay, I'm good at the branding, I'm good at making the product, but I need someone to help with commercial and sales. So that's when I put out the call to EI. I was like, look, I need to bring on a co-founder. Like, I just think it's the right thing to do. And luckily at the time, a guy who was talking to me about making a bar for his brand had exited a healthy snack company called Stripped. It was a biltong company.
Okay.
So he exited that, and I kind of got friendly with him. Right. And he was like, look, I'm kind of in between now. I'm looking at setting up like a nut butter bar, that like something that I was talking to you about before. If you need help with sales or anything in the meantime, you know, I can kind of help. And then I was kind of driving home a day or two later and went, why don't I just say it to him? Like, he seems to know this. He wants to make a bar. I'm making a bar. He's scaled a business all over Ireland, UK and France. Why don't we just come together? So my product's really good, and that was Ross, my co-founder, and we're
that story.
Yeah, and we're in business together now since.
So he was selling what, biltong? Is that like
biltong.
Beef jerky?
Yeah, beef jerky.
Yeah.
So he was living in South Africa, saw it really there, thought the opportunity for Irish beef export was amazing.
I never heard that story.
He actually brought biltong to Ireland.
Right.
I can't see another brand that was doing it before him, so I slag him and call him the grandfather of Irish biltong. But anyway, so we got together, and then it was like, idea. Okay, where's the category going? It's natural. Okay, like this, like our values around sustainability. You know, he's big into surfing. I've been growing up on the coast, and we just believed there had to be a better way to do business and create a better product. So, and it came down to like, you know, and then eventually I had someone who was on the same wavelength as me that I could bounce ideas off, because like being a solo founder is very tough. And
yeah, do you have any besides the government bodies and stuff like that? Did you have any like communities or friends that were in business or in product or anything?
There wasn't a whole lot back then. Yeah. It's kind of like when you're that small food stage, you're kind of in the local farmers markets and so on. Yeah. And again, you know, great businesses, so on, but different ambition, you know, like, you know, if you've got a really good like artisanal bread, you can't scale that across Europe and so on. Yeah. But like they've got a really good following in a local area and they've built a really good business. But there was none of the, like, there's communities everywhere now. It's amazing, but it just didn't exist as much. I did a bit on like, there's like this Twitter business hour on Tuesdays. You could tweet about your business and stuff. That was like, I got my diary at like 7 or 8 o'clock of a Tuesday, and you know, I got talking to some great business owners, people from skincare and all these other things. I just, like at that stage, I just sponge, learn as much as possible, and it really stood to me. Yeah.
Okay. So then we get to All Real. So then I suppose, and we were kind of again talking about this early. The coffee shop could have been a podcast, but what kind, from a marketing perspective, I want you to think broader than just the D2C and the online stuff, but from a marketing perspective, like what were kind of some of the mistakes, or what kind of comes to mind when you say, okay, we could have done that better, or maybe we shouldn't, we were too early stage for that, or what kind of comes to mind?
Yeah,
a lot.
Exactly. I suppose we were a little bit late pushing the D2C, and I kind of kicked myself for not going out sports nutrition products. They're being sold online. That should be our direct path. Okay. But we are very retail focused, and obviously Ross's background is retail, and all the accelerator programs are retail. But right, so we scaled to a couple of hundred stores, staff making the bars for us. And we brought on investment, we brought on a marketing team, and we did we did loads of marketing activities, all the things you think you should do, but it's not the things you actually need to do. For example, like you're doing like national PR stuff,
right?
But people can't get your product nationally. You know, you spend all these marketing dollars or euros getting to people who can't actually get your product. So that'd be one thing. Like doing different campaigns, and all our socials, like, oh, you know, I'm in Kilkenny, where can I get your product? I'm in here, where can I get your product? And like, you can't.
Yeah.
Well, I've after spending a lot of money telling you about it, now you can't buy the bloody thing.
Okay.
So that was something. So I think being quite targeted. So what we've learned since, after we've done loads of this PR, loads of the kind of the things you're told you should do, like we focus on a couple of things. One, brand in hand, getting product in the customer who's going to buy it. So our marketing team, then we focused on gyms and community. So going into gyms, sampling, give free products. We're doing like gym takeover things, giving out All Real t-shirts, giving out bars, telling the story. That stuff really kind of helped. But even then, some of the people in the gyms like, oh, it's not in my local shop, can't buy it. So again, the writing was the wall, e-commerce, we needed to push that a bit more. But what we then did focus on is, right, where is our product? It's in stores. So how do we make sure we really dial up our point of sale, our messaging and so on? So like where the customer's going to buy it, making sure we have multiple locations in store. And that's where we invested all our time and money. And that's really what helped our retail grow. Because when you're doing better rate of sale, then you've got more leverage to talk to the store owner to be like, look, we're on the bottom shelf. Can you move us up to, you know, those guys, they're not selling as well as us, I hope. And then they go, no, actually, no, you're doing good. You're in here all the time. So it was just focusing on that side of things a lot. And we were doing loads of stuff on organic social and so on, but it wasn't moving the needle for us. So then, you know, after COVID kicked in, after COVID finished, we kind of launched All Real, and we were still pushing retail. But then we kind of were like, okay, we need to start pushing our online. It's actually starting to grow kind of organically here. So let's start to push a little bit more. So like our strategy up until now is just to do all our founder ads, pushing as much creative. So we actually slowed down. If you look at our organic social, it's not great. That is going to be fixed now because I think you can focus on another lesson, focusing on way too many things, the shotgun approach. You're barely touching all these different things. So, you know, and like we nearly lost our business doing all that, you know, running out of money. Just we're like, oh, you have to do that and you have to do that and you have to spend money here, you have to do this ad with Spins Out West, and you know, all these things that you kind of thought were like what brands do. But actually you have to be very clever at the stage of brand you are and and trying to get to the customers you want to get to.
Yeah, I think that's even something I went through over the last kind of 12 months is like, there's so many different variables to a business, and like on the course of like 7 days in a week, you could touch all of them like 10-20%. I think a much better strategy is to dedicate like a full block of like 8-12 weeks of just like, I'm going to get this problem sorted, I'm going to get it airtight. So for example, for us, it was on the retention side. Like me and Sandwich work super close, just be like, okay, look, what can we do to make sure that, like, you know, we're really locking in the retention here and we're understanding these businesses from top to bottom. Founders feel supported. And once we got that locked in, that just allowed me to then kind of look from an acquisition perspective and say, okay, now we can bring in the right customers, because we know that once they come in, like, they're going to stay for years and they're going to be happy. So, but before that, I was very much like, all right, Monday, Tuesday, like, let's new business, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, how's things over here? Whereas I think if you can just get something locked in and then focus in on the next thing, and again, even from a business perspective, I don't know how people have more than one business. I just think that's absolutely insane. Like, obviously, if you have the luxury of getting team members and having the capital to hire really senior staff or advisors, etc. But I mean, focus is just one thing.
So, and like you can see within our revenue, like with All Real, so we closed down Origin throughout COVID because all our stores were city centre Dublin, and all the offices shut. And that was the time to transition to All Real. Ross had come on board and we wanted to launch the new brand that we both set up together. So year one, we had a bit of a bump. Year two, year three, I mean, we were fairly flat, you know, like 10-20% growth. Nothing that would light the world on fire, because we were trying to sell in America, we were trying to sell everywhere, we were trying to do all these different things, try to build a factory, and also that's another thing, building the factory took a lot of time and effort, but it's paying dividends now, which is great. Which is great. But what we did 2 years ago, which really catapulted our growth, was, right, forget all the noise. So we dropped all our organic social, all the marketing campaigns, and what we focused on was, one, getting as much product into the best place in stores as possible, and two, driving as much converting ads on social to raise awareness, so that when people were on social, they'd see the founder story, they come through the funnel, and if they didn't buy online, they would have seen us raise brand awareness, and then the good position we had in the store, they picked it up. And then we started growing, and we got 80% growth year on year, then 70%, and last year was 80%. We're on the same course for that again this year. And now we can afford to start putting in the other marketing and the other bits, because our product has now got mass availability. So now we can do mass marketing, whereas that was our mistake earlier on. Mass marketing with like no availability. scalability.
And just even going back a couple of years ago, because one thing that I actually don't think you get enough credit for is, well, there was, I want to know, was there any like limiting beliefs in terms of selling this product online? Because over the years, I've worked with, or I've spoken to at least, a lot of people with similar products, maybe drinks or bars, and there's always been this limiting belief that like people don't want to get bars online, or they don't want to get subscription to these to these kind of products. You know, it's just in their minds, just buy it in the shops. And people, and I think it's still quite rare to see similar businesses work so well online. But you guys kind of cracked that. Did you have any limiting beliefs to that, or did you always believe that like, oh, there is a market here, people do want to buy online? Because not that I was like shocked when we kind of first started working together, but I was just really impressed because I've seen so many people not being able to do it, you know?
I must say, even while I've been quite embarrassed at times, like I was saying, when I was trying to sell into the stores, deep down I always felt like the product and the market fit really, really well.
Yeah.
And that gave me huge belief. Like day one, when I was going into Origin and I was doing the bar, like I was writing down, okay, we're going to be the #1 natural bar brand in Europe. That is an audacious statement to make. I'm just sitting in the kitchen. I've got about €2 to rub together, but we're just going to make it happen. And I'm going to figure out, right, what's one step closer every day. And now it's slightly believable. Whereas back then, people literally said to my face, they're like, this isn't going to work. Would you not just go do something else?
Yeah.
But I just knew they were just wrong. And I just fundamentally believed that our product was going to work. And I thought if the business didn't work at any stage, it wasn't because the product wasn't good enough. It was because me and Ross made a wrong mistake or a wrong decision at some point. And there was months where we were down to our last euro and we were like, okay, we've got to sell like hell to make enough money for payroll to get through another month. And thank God our product was good enough that we were able to do that. So the first thing was around that point where we'd raised investment, we were running very tight in cash. We're like, okay, right. That's when it got down to, okay, our back is against the wall. We have to focus on doing things really well because all the other stuff we're doing is not working.
Aye.
What is working, and cut all the noise. And that was challenging because you have so many people shouting and you're going, oh, but you were going to do this. We're not now. Okay, we've got to, like, survival is your #1 thing as an entrepreneur. Live it and keeping the business alive for another day. And then once you do that long enough, and then you start to build up more and more and more, and then eventually you get to break even, and then you're generating that. The weight that comes off your shoulders when you get to that point is phenomenal.
I think it's in moments like that it's important to have a co-founder, or at least just somebody to have that kind of collaboration, or just someone to carry the burden with, because you know they happen frequently in every business.
Yeah, because like sometimes I think we're going to shoot for the moon. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, well, how is that going to work?
Yeah.
And like it's good to like have like being able to question little things, and you know, like why I might be up here, and then we kind of both pull each other.
I think you complement each other very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, we're just very lucky. We've never had an argument. Like, not once have we ever been, like, obviously been stressful times, but it's never been about, you know, I don't think you're credible, you don't think I'm credible. We've had some argument, you've said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like so lucky because that's the way I am just fundamentally as a person. I don't like getting in arguments over things. I just think we should just speak it through rationally and figure out, and Ross is the very same. And that's just made the relationship very good. Because you're signing into a shareholders agreement that can only be parted through legal system, just like a marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I was very lucky, you know, that, you know, I have a co-founder like Ross that I can share the journey with. And we've built an amazing team that are sharing the journey with us now too. And
yeah, you have. Yeah, like Dermot's great, and I feel like the two of you you're kind of in your own domains, like retail, and then you're doing everything that you're doing, and then you obviously come together at the end of the week, or
that was another big learning.
Okay.
Because we were both doing everything together all the time.
Right.
And actually, that just meant the two of our resources were. Like,
oh, so you were both like working on the same project?
We didn't have a CEO or a lead. We didn't have.
Makes sense.
Just like we were hopping. We just didn't have the structure. It was too kind of like we were doing all the things we believe were the right things to do, but we ignored proper structure. Exactly. So
is there like retail first or e-com first? Like how do you split it up?
So we were kind of doing a little bit here and there, right? I've kind of naturally gone a bit more to the e-com, because the marketing side is more heavily focused on marketing, whereas sales and operation execution Ross is very good at. So we kind of naturally did a little bit of that. But there was times where, I mean, I was driving around the stores doing store manager stuff. Ross was doing stuff for online, and there was just no clear separation, and it was just chaos. So when we decided, okay, Ross, you focus purely on retail, I'll focus purely on online, and I'll run the business from a CEO point of view, and you look after sales and finance, I look after this. Then we had distinct responsibilities.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, now I have to make, it's not the lads, it's Niall is on the line for this, or Ross is on the line for this. And it's something we should have done earlier.
Yeah.
But we're a small bit too ideological. You know, when you start off, you're like, oh, we don't have to adhere to that. We'll just, we're on a rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah, you can only figure it out as you go though, really, can't you? So
Yeah.
when did you guys make that decision?
2 years ago.
Right, cool, yeah.
That was the big turning point, was right, we'll look at that. And that's when I really doubled down in online. Like I said, our back was to the wall, pull out my phone, went through Instagram, was like, right, just looked at some really cool companies, and I was like, right, I just want 5 videos that have over 1 million views, and then I just re-scripted them myself, shot them on my phone, and edited them, threw them into the ad account. And then I just started increasing the budget like 10-20% every day, and just the sales kept coming through, and like, oh my god.
There you go.
We scaled 10x over the space of maybe 4 or 5 months. But again, I didn't have the full system. Like what we work with you guys now is brilliant. Like, we know the contribution margins. All I knew was I needed to hit over certain ROAS, and our sales are growing, and then we could afford to actually bring more stuff on.
In all fairness though, around that time period most people were operating like that. It was only kind of, so you're talking like 2022, 3, 4 maybe?
Yeah, so it was the end of 24. Yeah, it was Q3 24 is when we had to make all those decisions, and it was the best thing we ever did.
Yeah, but so all the conversations that we have now are in contribution margin, MER, NCAC and stuff. That actually that's only really kind of came obvious like 2.5, 3 years ago. Before that, ROAS was the metric that everybody measured. So I wouldn't fault it. And I think that's a nice pivot into the next part. So obviously, like, the LTV is there, the product is great, people love it, they keep coming back. But what on the new customer acquisition side, and then tying that up with content and creative, how have you kind of approached that over the last 18 months, I suppose?
Yeah, well, obviously there's been a big change in Meta's algorithm, and just in general consumer behaviour as a whole. But yeah, so look, we take it from a kind of a funneled approach. We look at all our top of funnel education pieces, and now we're looking at the different formats and the different avatar customers that we look at. So we kind of break up our personas. So like, we've got persona A, persona B, persona, and they're kind of macro personas, and we kind of go, right, how do we create educational content that serves what they want, real top of funnel stuff? How do we really show why our product is better than others? Then we build in more kind of, once they know the product, a bit more educational, more social proof, and then kind of build more offer-based stuff in. But I mean, this is just a constant thing. We're pushing new creatives into the ad account every other day, and we're just taking the learnings from what's working, what's not working, and just trying to stay ahead of the trends. And like, what works really well is, what's really helped build a brand is, we've just really doubled down that founder story, talking about why we set up the business, what our vision and our purpose is, to get people eating more real food, getting to look and feel their best, and to just move away from all this ultra processed protein slop that's just hogging the shelves, and you'll just be much better off. And then if you need a convenient product, then eat an all real bar. But we're trying to push, eating and educating people around just eating more natural, real foods as much as possible.
Hope you're enjoying the conversation. Just want to give a shout out to J.R. Mahon here on the keys. Let us use the spot for the pod. And also, if you're coming to the Aer Lingus Classic in August, this is the best bar to be. Whether you're coming from the States or you're coming from Dublin, be here. I'll be here, and the pint will be flowing. Back to the pod. You kind of touched on their consumer behavior. So, like, we were talking about the apps and stuff, and how people are educating themselves. Like, how have you seen that trend change?
Oh, we're now in the era of radical transparency. So that has been one of our core values from day one, and now it's paying off dividends, just because it was a value of me and Ross's, not because we sat down in the boardroom with all the charts and did all the research. It was like, the way we defined the market was, you're looking at all of these you know, models that are like not eating the product. It's all very fake. They're like some of the fake claims that they're trying to be healthy and they're not, and it just felt so just bullshit, really.
Yeah.
So that's when it comes to the brand of all real and transparent and trying to keep ingredients really readable and so on. So now that's paying off dividends because consumers now, they're following influencers who are going to supermarkets talking about all of what's in the back of the pack, and people because of so much information, they're being educated more. So there's apps like Yuka now, which is having a huge effect on consumers' purchase behaviours. So you go into a shop, like I was in Holland and Barrett in London about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I stood there for about 20 minutes, and I'd say 1 out of every 5 customers picked up a product, scanned it on the app, and had a look to see, was it filled with microplastics? Did it have the right calorie count? Did it have any harmful additives? So on. People are really caring now because they're seeing this all the time. It's reinforcing beliefs. So people's attitudes are changing to what they're buying, and so maybe we were a little bit early with this ultra natural real food product because people just wanted health and they didn't really care exactly what that meant. And now it's actually the market is flipping on its head, that people they want taste, they want natural, but they want something that they know is third party tested, that's actually good for you.
I feel like you were pushing more of the gym angle or the kind of protein angle, and now you're shifting towards more of the everyday kind of person. Like with the whole idea of just everyone just scanning the apps and stuff like that. How did you kind of create those personas, or did you come into All Real thinking we're going to push this type of person or that type of persona?
Be honest, that's something we kind of struggled with a bit to start because we did some data and like we believed all sorts of people from different backgrounds were eating our products because they all have different needs. We went to Board Bia and did a bit of work with them, and first of all they're like, no, you have one target customer, it's obviously going to be a gym goer or this or that. And then we did all the consumer research, we did panels, we did everything, and then the report came back and was like, your product is a nutritional Swiss Army knife based on what person's needs are, whether they've skipped a breakfast and they're on the go because they're in the city and they just grab a coffee in a bar and off the go, whether it's a gym person who's looking for natural performance, whether it's someone who just wants to have healthy snacks in the house, whether it's like there's so many different snacking occasions or meal replacements or whatever. So we kind of were like, you can't be all things to all people, and that we kind of struggled with that. So we kind of looked at the market and went, all the other sports nutrition brands are either pushing to be the top 1% athlete. You have to, push. And like, it just doesn't feel right. So, we kind of went with our guts and like, right, we're just trying to market to the everyday normal person, or what we call the everyday athlete, which really isn't really an athlete. Yeah. It's just like someone who goes to the gym maybe 2 or 3 days a week, looks after himself, cares what to eat, so on. And actually, that positioning worked really well because people were just taught. Again, it's like I don't know if you ever read a book called The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. It talks about, all the cows in the field, but there's one purple one. This is it summed up in a sense. You're going to look at the purple one, that's a little bit different. All the other brands are pushing this, athlete, right. performance. And we're kind of pushing, this is actually for normal people. Yeah. And that kind of really helped us stand out and build good relationships with people because you kind of go, this is kind of more speaks to me, and this brand understands me more on a fundamental level.
And obviously, like last year, you grew a lot, and there's aggressive targets for this year. What's kind of gotten more difficult as the business has grown, or what kind of challenges keep kind of popping up? Or
every stage of growth there'll be different challenges. And you kind of often hear from that kind of journey from 5 to 10 million, you're kind of at no man's land. You're not generating enough revenue to build a huge team. And a lot of brands kind of get stuck there. But we seem to be pacing beyond that. But some of the challenges are definitely around, like, me and Ross didn't have our own internal structures, right? So we didn't have it for our team. So, like, when you're starting to hire, and our team is up to nearly 20 people now, you'll not cause frustration for people that are working with you because they're like, okay, like, I haven't had a review for 7 months. Like, I want to sit down and talk about this. Oh, yeah, sorry, get to that. So a lot of those learnings have caused us to put in a really good operating system into the business. So, like, those type of things, like, you kind of have to roll with the punches and naturally see, okay, this now has become an issue. And whereas before when we started, we were all kind of touch and feel and vibes, we're now very much systemized rifle approach, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Here's what you can expect. Here's a full, if you start to work with All Real, here's your full onboarding. You'll see the founder story, you'll get your contract, you'll get all the different bits you need, all the different policies or culture documents, all that type of stuff. That was all born out of messing up severely and just making a kind of a chaotic environment for people to work in. So as you scale and you're bringing more people on, while they love the brand and the mission, you also have to build a career for them.
Yeah.
Like All Real is not going anywhere. Like we're not on our, you know, a lot of brands are building it to bring on huge investment, go to private equity and then try to sell it on. That's not our ambition. Our ambition is to grow a long-standing, true Irish brand that lasts the test of time. To me, that's way more impressive than like a 5-year pump and dump flash in the pan.
Sure.
So with that being said, that made us realise, okay, we've got to build systems and hire people that I know will be driving things on, not just in 2 years, but in 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's that more longer term approach.
Amazing.
So
I'm a big believer that your business is a reflection of you. So I'd love to know, like, how is your own lifestyle, the way you handle your schedule, the way you plan, the way you systemize your week, how has that evolved over the last couple of years?
yeah, so like I mentioned, nearly 10, probably 12 or 13 years ago, I went through a big lifestyle change from working in the student union, like running a nightclub, drinking all around the clock, partying.
Sounds like a similar story I've heard before.
And I had to flip my lifestyle on its head, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, so on. Then we got to the stage where, you know, COVID hit, the business wasn't really doing all the things, because we were messy entrepreneurs, and luckily our product was good enough. It afforded us the time to learn and to build the systems and to evolve as business owners. Because like the guy you're talking to now, like 5 or 6 years ago, I'll tell a good story, but if you looked at the backside of things, it wasn't really a well-oiled machine like it is now. So that all had to come through practical learning. But then also I had kids, and they didn't sleep very well, so I was going into work in a place where I was just so tired all the time. Stuff wasn't working out, it was all chaotic, and that was actually a really hard pace. And when, like I said earlier, we got to that stage where it's like, okay, like we got to make payroll this month and the next month, and me and Ross made our decisions on different roles in the team, and then just dropped all the stuff we were doing. Like we'd fucking marketing agency, PR agencies, all these different things, and we weren't even like managing them properly. Then we got the laser focus on. It's like, right, now I need to take control of my health again. And it's like, without noticing it, I'd gone back to where I was. Beer every weekend, not eating healthy. And I was like, actually, like, I'm running this health brand and I'm not even living a healthy lifestyle because of the stress and pressure and everything that had built into it. So took back control of my health again, got into more systems now. Like I've got a personal operating system, you know, for how I run my day. You know, I plan out my year, then I look at how all my goals, how I break it down by quarter. I have a 45-day review with myself. I do my 3 tasks every day that I need to do. There's 1 main task and 3 subtasks. I review my day every day. I review my week, and every week I say, am I one step closer to achieving my quarter? So that's how I organise myself. And then at the start of the week, I look and I plan out all the things I need to do the week. I slot it into my diary so I know it's going to be done. And then I review it myself at the end of every week. And I'm very harsh on myself.
Okay.
Very harsh, because I think you have to be. Like, you have to will a startup into existence. We're competing against billion-euro companies. All our main competitors on the shelf are all owned by billion-euro companies. Yeah. They're not taking kindly to us taking market share off them. It's incredibly competitive. And I said, right, it's enough fucking around. This is time to get serious about me, my health, the business, and that. And then once I started doing my focus on myself, and we put myself and Ross put ourselves in the right positions, then we had 80% growth, 70% growth, and we're on for the same this year. So you really have to look at your own operating system, so that, like, because you're the biggest asset in the business. Because if you don't show up, who the hell is going to, you know, if you don't inspire the team, like you've just eat shit sandwich after shit sandwich. And if you're not inspiring the team, showing the future, when they'll go off and do something else. So like I said, you have to will it into existence.
How do you, I love kind of getting into the founder stuff, but how have you kind of positioned or planned, family time, social life, that kind of side of things in the stage of growth that you are in now?
That's all in my personal operating system. Fun, family, finance, fitness, all in there.
Cool.
I have goals in each one of those. So I make sure I have at least 1 or 2 fun family time with my kids every single week. Like that's scheduled into the calendar. Now it might be just, okay, I get up early with the kids, we'll just go for a random wander through the sand dunes, Castle Gregory, and just dad and the boys going off, looking for toads or, just fun stuff. Or we might go to the playground or whatever. I might bring them to the skate park because I used to skateboard when I was younger, teaching them that. Or I might go into the garden and try and start teaching them boxing and different things, just so that I have something that I know that as busy as it's been, that I'm not just sitting on my laptop going, yeah, I'll be with you in 5 minutes, that we've got dedicated time together. Same with my wife, same with my fitness, all that stuff. Just like when you're trying to achieve so much, you have to be intentional about all those different things. And then you're looking at yourself, okay, I failed here this week, right, I've got to make sure I get back to this stage next week. Or, okay, like I'm on a weight loss journey, didn't track anything this week, my weight loss wasn't, okay, I need to double down on that. Okay, this didn't happen here in the business, okay, I need to make sure I talk to X person, make sure they're supported properly here. So it's as much looking in as it is looking out.
Sure, yeah. And just in terms of the operating system, is that like built out on Notion, or is it just a journal, or what way do you do that?
My own thing.
personal.
I work with a business coach, and he kind of had a journal and a system, and I've just like, okay, I've just taken that and run with it. Then with the business operating system, I've just looked at a bunch of different CEOs that are miles ahead of me talking about stuff and just took notes.
What kind of CEOs do you like? Like, who kind of comes to mind?
Oh, do you know who I love? And he's very radical, was Andy Frisella from
Okay, yeah,
First Form.
okay.
He
I like Andrew Frisella.
yeah. And but the great thing as well now is there's so many people giving free content out.
Yeah.
So, like there's Ryan Dace. He's
Yeah, I've actually recently started getting
Yeah.
into him. I like him, yeah.
There's another guy, I can't remember, Sir Scott something. These
Scott
guys.
Galloway?
Sorry?
Scott Galloway?
I can't remember. I think it's anyway, they give them lots of advice on, it's like content for CEOs.
Okay.
So I've taken a lot of that stuff on board and been like, oh, that's tied these 2 points together in my head, so now I know how to go from here to here.
Right.
So I'm just taking little bits from everywhere, and you're trying to figure out everything all the time, going, right, how do you look at the problems yesterday and stop them becoming problems of tomorrow,
Yeah.
and trying to put in the different things in place. And I've just been getting as much content as possible and just knitting it all together to create something that works for all real.
Yeah, man. Right, no, it's getting to 10:30 now. I know I gotta go, but really appreciate you coming on. Your values are definitely is radical transparency, because I think just you got into so much like strong stuff, and I think it's really important for, particularly on the brand side, for founders to share like what it's really like, because everybody's just watching content and all the
Yeah.
positives and everything that's going like a million miles an hour.
I think a lot of founders who are raising funds are afraid to talk about
Yeah.
that stuff because they don't want to show the real reality in case they piss off an investor. But I am who I am. Take me, like me or hate me, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you how it is. So.
Yeah, I was listening to one of Gary Fox's podcasts yesterday, and he said I forget which episode it was, but he was saying that people are always asking him to interview people who are failing, but he's like, nobody wants to come on the podcast when they're failing.
Yeah.
They want to talk about the comeback story.
Yeah.
So, which is totally fair. But you're really kind of sharing how it's going in the
Yeah.
moment, which I think a lot of people appreciate.
Yeah.
And really appreciate your friendship. Really appreciate everything you're doing. Love working with the brand.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And thanks for doing everything you do at Leading Social. I mean, like, I'm able to outsource that whole side of things, and like I feel like you are part of All Reel's team.
Definitely,
we've got
yeah.
Josh looking after attention, Sam is dealing with us every single day on all our numbers and making sure everything's done. Yvene is looking at our ad account, making sure all the different ad sets are pushed up, spend and budget is pushed here and there, and everything is fully optimized. So like it's amazing, and it's a great partnership. So
Thanks, I appreciate it.
You built a great
That's
business.
That's a testimonial. That's going on the
Yeah.
website.
No, we've built a great business. We've worked with loads of agencies, and we've never really been happy. So having someone actually views yourself as a team member of us and vice versa, I think that is key as well.
Yeah. Well, look, I really appreciate that. But it also comes down to like the communication on your team side, like between you, your team, Dermot. Like the communication is there. Like if we say we need to go in this direction, like we're able to pivot, and then also the product speaks for itself. So I mean, you know, when you have a good product that people love, it's easy to kind of come up with really fun ideas, creative ideas, and strategy. So I do think it's a good collaboration. But I do appreciate that, and that's going on the website.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Cheers.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week.
Cheers.